Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Munch and Learn. We are in the process of getting some more tables and chairs set up for everybody, so hopefully everybody will have a spot very shortly. I'm Elizabeth Sloan. I am the Public Programs Coordinator here at the Dixon. We'll start with a few reminders and pieces of housekeeping information before we get started. Our new exhibit, John Leslie Breck, American Impressionist, and the new interactive gallery exhibit, Who is That Artist, are open to the public. We're recording this session, and you can find each week's talk published on the Dixon YouTube channel. So if you ever want to revisit a talk, you can find them there. We ask that you please silence or turn off your cell phones for the duration of the talk. Thank you. If you have any questions for our speaker, please hold them until the end, and he will be happy to answer them. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker and our current Mallory Wurzburger artist, Matthew Lee. Matthew Lee is a landscape painter who enjoys working directly from life, whether he is creating plein air landscape in the hills of Providence or in Memphis, Tennessee, where he currently lives. His paintings are often about creating an immediate connection with nature, capturing the life, forms, and feeling of a place. Many people say they feel a sense of peace from his work, or they feel like they could be standing right there in the painting. He was born in Paris, France, missionary parents originally from Mississippi. He spent his childhood mostly in France and Germany, then returned to Mississippi for university and to reconnect with his Mississippi family. The rich culture and artistic heritage of France were deeply imprinted on his life. In addition to being a painter, he's a licensed architect. For more information about him, please visit MatthewLeeStudio.com. Matthew, thank you so much for coming to speak with us today. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I brought my hat just because some people don't recognize me if I don't have it on, but okay, just for fun. Actually, it's true. I was in the hallway in the gallery rather, and I was showing someone one of my paintings. I touched the frame, and one of the guards came along and said, "Please don't touch the artwork." But I didn't have my hat on. Really excited to have all of you here. It's a great crowd. I'm thrilled, and I'm really thrilled to be able to have an exhibit here at the Dixon. I've been painting here like, I don't know, 20 years or so, off and on, as a part of my regular practice. And so here we go. I'm going to talk about some of my beginnings, the challenges of plein air painting, like weather and changing light, some of my adventures, mostly in Arkansas, a deeper awareness you get by working on location, some of the adventure, fun, passion, and then the element of practice. So that picture is me painting in Paris. So, a friend asked me recently, how did you get started with landscape painting? And I was thinking back through some of my experiences, and one of them was here in Memphis. I was an art major originally at Mississippi State University, and then later switched over to architecture, and I had a summer job with an architect, Coleman Coker. This was before the Harbortown Bridge was here, down to Mud Island. And I don't know how I got across, but I got across over to the island. I think there was a small bridge. Anyhow, I was there with a sketch pad on the weekend, and I went down to the river, and you couldn't really, it was just all like briar, brush, and tangled, it was just a mess. So I was like getting through all the briars. Finally, I get where I could see the water, and I spent some time sketching. Excuse me. And at some point, as I was sketching, I kind of had a shift of like consciousness. I changed from me drawing to me just being part of the scene. And that just, I lost myself like in the river. And so that experience, so I was in my mid-20s. That sort of stayed with me. I'm gonna get a cough drop. Give me a second. I lived in the Vésinet in France. My parents were Baptist missionaries. They started a church in Paris for the American community. But we lived in the suburbs in a town called the Vésinet, and this town definitely had an effect on me. On the left, it's the house we were living in, which is just amazing to me. We lived in this really amazing, beautiful house. It was 3 stories tall. Back then, the Vésinet wasn't really just a suburb. It was kind of a forgotten town. But now it's become a suburb and very popular. On the top right is the little boulangerie, which is bread store. And my mom would send me there with 5 francs, which looks like about $1 to go get bread, and I had to stand in line with everyone else. Because I learned English first and had to say to the person at the counter, baguette pas trop cuite. And that was a lot for an 8-year-old. But really my point in talking about the Vésinet is it was one of the first garden cities designed in Europe. It had the town part, but then it was also part garden. So they call it a cité jardin. So not far from the city part, it had these gardens that were interlaced through the town. There were like open, like it wasn't like a regular suburb. There were like open fields, bridges. Like as a kid, it didn't really register to me that somebody had designed it. It just felt they made it to look natural, and it felt perfect. So I think some of my love for the landscape started here. Okay, so how many people know what plein air means? So almost everybody. If you don't, it's okay. Plein air usually means open air, like open air. But the literal translation for plein is full. So if you go to a gas station in France and you ask fill her up, you would say le plein, means you fill it up. But you have to be careful because in French, the same word can have different meanings. So if you're at a dinner and you want to say I'm full, you don't use plein. It would be, if you say je suis plein, it means I'm pregnant. So, okay, thanks for laughing. I'm trying. So one of the challenges of plein air painting, of course, is the changing weather. And in the South, that means dealing with heat a lot, right? So here, this is in mid-August, here at the Dixon Gardens, and it's sweltering hot. I don't know what the temperature was, but I want to say it was like 100. It probably wasn't. But that something about the element of a challenge like that, heat or having to hike into a place, it helps me to focus. It's actually an advantage because I kind of want to just get in and get the painting done, and I don't want to, fuss around with too much. The other thing that happened here, when I was setting up to paint another artist that's well known in Memphis, but I don't know whether I should say his name. He came by and said, Matthew, I wouldn't ever try to paint anything that complicated. And so I was like, oh, game on. I'm like, you know, I have a like background in architecture and drawing secondhand. Not to brag, but that's I'm good at drawing. So I was like, you got it. And so I painted this over 2 days. This is the first day. I'm painting for about 3 hours. And then by then the light's complete. So I came back the same day and equally hot. And then there's the painting, which is here in the gallery. It's a little bit washed out there, but it's, y'all can see it after the car. So here, this is on a different space entirely. My wife's sister made some friends in Mexico, and she goes there every summer. So we went to hang out with her friends. And this is an hour outside of Mexico City, Teotihuacan. And we're looking at the end of that vista is the temple of so really the main challenge here was that after about 30 minutes it started raining. So you can't really paint in the rain. But the other element there was that they won't allow tripods to watch. I think because too many photographers come in. And so I couldn't set up my easel. I'm painting in my lap. And that's the temple of the moon. Okay, so another factor definitely I've run into is wind. Like a big gust will easily take my easel over. So sometimes I have to lay down my easel. Let's see if I can. How do I do this, Elizabeth? Should I just tap? Sound. Do it sound. So there you can see I've got my back. Okay, so what I said, if you couldn't hear that, I said it's blowing like 30 miles an hour, and something like that. It was a lot. And Margaret loves my wife here in front. She loves like classical mythology, archaeology, and those kind of things. And so we got the chance to visit Greece and France for 3 weeks in 2014. And she drugged me around to all these piles of rocks. And this one was particularly hard to get to. It was like 2 hours on the bus. You get there. So that's our guy here on. And she could tell you more about it, but it's one of the ancient temples. That's the foundation. And there was the original temple and then a later temple. It was beautiful, beautiful place to paint. Okay, so changing white is definitely one of the factors that basically I have to, I'm trying to typically to try to paint a painting in 2 to 3 hours, but it doesn't always work out that way. So sometimes I end up working from memory or getting all across. Mostly pictures. So this is the Cloudland Canyon, which is in northwest Georgia, about 30 to 45 minutes south of Chattanooga. And I'm working bigger than normal. I'm kind of getting out of my comfort zone here. This is a 24 by 36 canvas you can see on the bottom. And so on day one, I'm just getting the shapes and the line work drawn in. And that's about all like you can get done. On something that big, there's a lot more, just more paint to put down. So across the top you can see the light, those are like half an hour increments. And the light was pretty consistent. But I really wasn't even at the point where I'm painting the light or dark. I was just trying to get it shaped. The next day, the two pictures on the left, there were these great big rolling shadows going across the day. And so everything was constantly changing. You know, you would look at something and then the big shadow would come across it. So, yeah. And there I'm in my fancy outfit. And then this is the third day. I'm trying to finish the painting, and there's complete cloud cover. So I'm basically working from memory. And then there's while I was there, I was hiking down into that canyon in the afternoon or morning, I guess probably morning actually, and painting this waterfall. And you can see there the changes in light there. We got on the left that trees backlit on the right, and then later on, you know, no sunlight at all. So and which one do you paint? You really have to pick. You basically have to pick a point in time, and then otherwise you end up chasing the light. So that's the resulting painting. That's a small painting. It's just outside the door on the right. I love waterfalls, and this was a warm time of year, and just another people story. There was a big sign that said "No swimming in the fall," and you know it was hot. But eventually a group of kind of free-spirited people that I would call hippies, basically showed up, and all their clothes went off, and they were all in the water. I mean, they had, you know, a little bit of clothing, but you know, no rules for them. This is eventually. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit if you don't mind. In painting landscapes, one develops a deeper connection with the place, and elements that would normally be missed in a scene come to light. Scenes that look bland at first may become more interesting as you spend time with them. That's the way with anything in life for me. The more time you spend, the better you can understand something like gardening or sailing or a friend. For this reason, I will often paint the same scene multiple times in different seasons or different times. So here's a scene at the Wolf River, and this was late summer, like end of August, early September, somewhere around there, and the wolf is down. So it wasn't really that interesting a scene, but like I said, by spending time with something, you start to really see things that you wouldn't see with just a glance. So that's a photograph on the left. Now on the right, I've started sketching on my canvas. And then there's the paint. So the that was a 2-day painting. So this is in Collierville at the end of the boardwalk at Johnson Park. Next, I'm just going to go into some of the adventures I've had. Here I'm painting on Cherry Road, right down the street here, and working big again, which is kind of, it's still a little bit new for me. I've done a lot of small paintings, and working bigger is just a different element. But right around this time, this is when the pandemic first started, and the mayor had announced to stay at home. I was a little bit nervous about painting outside because I didn't know if police would come or something. But anyhow, nobody stopped me. But every spring for the past like 5 years or so, I've been going to Arkansas and looking for places to paint. But this year, I mean, at that time, when the pandemic started, the governor of Arkansas closed all the campgrounds. All state parks were closed, and I was sort of like, well, what am I going to do? Because I usually can't. So I called the Forest Service for the Ozark National Forest and asked them, and they said I could camp anywhere in the forest. So that's what I needed to do. These are some of the guidebooks that I use to plan my adventures, and really I wouldn't have found a lot of places I've been to without these guidebooks. And, very friendly guy. I haven't met him in person, but I asked him if I could put his books up there, and he said, sure. So this is Haw Creek Falls. This is in the Ozark National Forest. And I've just arrived at this point, and I'm scoping out different things. But at that point, I didn't have a place to sleep. So I still didn't have a campsite set up. So I went on down the road, eventually found a little dirt road that went back in the woods, and it opened up into a pasture. This ended up being my home for like multiple businesses. So there, I've crossed the creek. So I take my boots off and I put some water shoes on, and I walk across the creek with all my gear. Water's full. This is in May, and if you can picture it, the waterfalls are really loud. You know, there's a lot of noise going on, and it's chilly. I didn't have another tripod, so I put my camera on a rock, but I've got long johns on, hat, gear, and it's cold. And not far from there, this is about a mile and a half hike from there. This is Hans Grotto, which is just another waterfall. And going the other direction to another waterfall, there's this. I found this little spot and made that's a 9 by 12 inch painting. It's quite small, and that's on paper. But I really fell in love with that little scene. It felt like a chapel to me, or something like that. And you can see people were piling up. You'll see this a lot. People piling up rocks to do their kind of the small rocks on top of the green rock there. So like, I decided I would come back. I had to come back to Memphis, but I wanted to come back again. So here I am a few weeks later, and this time I brought big canvases. That's my home right there. Living out of that car. This one is in the show here. That one's 18 by 36, and was painted over 3 days. Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I wrote all these really deep things earlier, and I want to bring them to life, but it's hard to remember everything. And there's that other scene again, but this is really getting adventurous here because I have to haul all that gear up to this location. This was about a mile hike up a creek, and there is a little bit of a trail, but not much. And the trail, it runs along and it stops and you can cross the creek and it sticks up on the other side, go back across. So you're hopping from rock to rock. And I've got, you can see I've got a big easel there. It stands, about 4 or 5 feet tall when it's folded up. And then I have my pallet, and the pallet is on a tripod. I like to work with my pallet in the same plane as my painting. Because that way the light on the pallet and the light on the painting are the same. You'll see a lot of people will, their palette will be horizontal, and then the painting will have vertical. So then you have different. So I like to keep them in the same plane. So I have to bring all this gear to accomplish that. And then there's a backpack with all the painting gear. So all of that stuff, quite a bit. I'm carrying the painting on my head, and anyhow, it's fun. No complaints here. It's fun, but it's a challenge. This is probably the second day. I think the weekend started and you get more people coming through, and dogs jumping in the water, and a lot of distractions. But it's still, I don't mind because everybody's in a good mood. Everyone's like getting out of the city, and it's usually really friendly people. Let's see this. That's after the third day. Because the canvas was so cumbersome to haul up and down the creek, the first night I found a crack between some rocks, and I just left the painting there overnight. And really didn't have much issue. There was no rain coming. So there was a little bit of humidity, but there was a few spiders, and that was about it. So there I am on my way back. The painting is finished. And I'm pretty excited about this painting. I felt like it was successful. And you can see the easel on my right shoulder. And I'm down at Hog Creek Falls at that point. There's people there, so someone took my phone and got my picture. And there's so many beautiful insects and things that end up on my clothes or jumping across me and in front of me. I don't know what kind of little beetle that is. So this is another trip. This is Richland Creek. This is about an hour east of where I was in the other paintings. And Tim Ernst in his books, he says this is like one of the most beautiful places in Arkansas. So I'm definitely going to check it out. And I found this spot along the creek, and I'm standing on these boulders, and right next to me, there's a waterfall rushing right behind my feet. And this is pretty far off the beaten track. You have to go down 9 miles of dirt roads just to get to the trailhead. So, these are back country roads, and so it's bumpy. So it's like an hour's drive just to get to the trailhead. Then hiking into this is maybe a 2-mile hike with my gear to get to this place to paint. And so there's nobody there. And for the most part, every now and then there was a trail on the other side of the creek, and every now and then some people would pass. But I was just enamored by the yellow leaves. This was in fall, and the yellow leaves reflecting on the water is just so dynamic. So again, this is the case where I did a couple of other paintings, but this was the most successful. I decided to come back with bigger canvases. So this is a few weeks later. A few weeks later, I come back with my big easel, a big canvas, and this is the painting getting started. So you can see my palette there. The palette's all nice and clean. It just has the colors like little worms on it. And on the bottom left, I've toned my canvas. I like to work on a tone because you can see colors more accurately. You work on a white canvas, the contrast with the white canvas will make the colors, your eye gets tricked a bit. So I like to tone my canvas to a gray, and then I can judge colors more accurately. So I've toned it with a variety of colors. I have no idea what I used, but I'm trying to get to a kind of a middle gray. So once I put the paint on, then in the middle picture on the bottom, I wipe it down with a paper towel, and it's got a lot of mineral spirits in it, and I don't want that in my paint, so I just want that to dry. And then since I had my camera out, I'm taking a picture on the bottom right in black and white because I want to see the values, and values in landscape painting are light to dark. So I'm trying to judge from the beginning. I want to see from the beginning kind of where I need to go. And you can see that the light on the trees it's lighter than the light on the water. The water is almost always a little bit darker than the trees. So now I'm getting started there. This is hunting season's about to start, so I hiked in with hunting vestments. Eventually I had to take that thing off because it was reflecting my painting. So on the left is after day 1, and the right is after day 2. And there, excuse me, there I'm finishing the painting. And then it's hike back to my car. I made a box for this painting to protect it. And I left this one in the woods at night as well. I found another, like a shaded spot under some rocks. But this is just a wood box, and the painting goes on one side and a piece of plywood on the other. So it protects the painting while I hike in. So it was a lot of gear to haul in. And I was starting to second guess myself on the way in the first day, because I was going over these boulders and things with all that stuff, and it's just, anyhow, it's worth it. Sometimes, I don't always feel motivated to paint. And sometimes, like in Memphis, I'm like, well, I'd really like to move to like Southern California or live in the Smokies, but I'm here, and so sometimes regular practice is a good motivator for me. Just like a pianist or any other artist, that regular practice is good for you. And so if I don't feel motivated to paint, I'll just get my gear and put it in my car and just go. And I don't know where I'm going to go usually. I'll just sort of go and then just go wherever inspiration leads me. But as a part of that regular practice, I've definitely enjoyed painting here. And let me keep going. So how do you get to Carnegie Hall? I know some of y'all, most of y'all have probably heard the joke, but just put up with it while I'll try to stumble through it. A guy is on 57th Street in New York City, and someone pulls up in a cab and gets out with like a violin case or something like that. And he says, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? And the musician looks at him and just sort of sighs and hangs his head and says, practice, practice, practice. So practice is really key for me as an artist in terms of growth and just getting better. And I make a lot of bad paintings, but every now and then you get a gem. It's just like photography. You may take 20 pictures and only one looks decent. So those are paintings in my studio, and I have about 250 in that kind of size. Not all are gallery worthy, but that's kind of that's where I'm at. Those are a couple of my usual haunts. On the right, you've already showed you one from the Wolf River, and a friend of mine, Agnes Stark, Potter. A lot of y'all know Agnes. Lets me paint on her property in Eads, and she has a pond there with some cypress trees. Also just sometimes I'll paint urban scenes. There's a painting out in the gallery of Sun Studio and the Botanic Gardens, of course, as well. But definitely enjoy painting here. So there's some of my paintings of the Dixon. I have around at least 20, maybe more. The one almost at the bottom, just right at the very bottom. That's probably the earliest one I did. And talk about changes. That one I painted, it features the azaleas. And I waited maybe a week to come back to paint the second time. And when I came back, the azaleas were all gone. So tough luck. And here's a little quick video of me painting at the cutting garden. I can just I'll just talk over it. I have the painting left, which is opposite of what I normally do. But because there was sun coming over the trees, I want my painting. That's another thing where in terms of color, ideally you want to paint canvas, not the sun. It's so blinding that you end up, if you paint with your canvas in the full sun, when you get to it, it'll look fantastic. Colors are all rich, but when you get home and you put it on the wall, it will look much too dark because your eyes are tricked by the sun. So you always paint in the shade. So in this case, to get shade, the cutting garden, they want sun for the plants. So there's no shade hardly anywhere. And so I'm pushed up against the trees and just getting a little bit of shade. But to do that, I had to put the easel on the left side. I usually have my easel on the right side. You just get used to working a certain way. So it's sort of like trying to work with your left and right. It's not quite that different, but still I'm sighting to, it's called sighting. I'm sighting to the right. I really enjoy painting in the cutting gardens because it's always changing. Every week or two, there's some little element. And I guess I want to throw in one little quick, a little thing. I was painting the sunflowers that were in the cutting garden, and Julie walked by with doing a tour. Julie Ferrodi, the curator here, and I said, "Hey Julie, I want one of those plant signs to put by my feet, and it'll say American Painter." And she said, "Yeah, right away. We'll get you one, and we'll bring it out. You can, I can put, so they can tell what." And there's the finished painting. That's 12 by 24 inches. I think we're open for questions now. I prefer to leave them alone, but if there's something, sometimes like my easel has little clamps to hold the painting, so it always leaves 2 white spots. So you know, I'll touch up something like that. I sign my paintings in the studio. Usually, I try to sign them on site, but sometimes I'm too frazzled or just signing paintings is like a whole different animal. You're switching from loose work to real tight work. So, yeah, in general, I try to finish.
Have you ever had a situation where you went out there and worked your butts off and then came back crossing extremes and all that and fell with your
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the, I don't know if I should go back in the slides, but the painting of Richland Creek, I had hiked in and hopped over a lot of rocks to get there. And I had that one in a protective little frame as well, as like a dado on each side or a rabbit. And you know, it had a plywood protection. But on my last, I had to cross the stream, and it's bigger than the Hawes Creek. It's wider, and the rocks are super slippery. There's slime on all the rocks. And on my last hop from the rock to the shore, the rocks just completely gave out, and I was in the creek with all my backpack and gear and everything. And the paint got completely soaked because the water just went right into the box. And so I spent about an hour pulling with a paper towel, pulling off the little water droplets. Because if you leave them there, they might leave a bit of a stain. And I meant to talk about that, so I'm glad you brought that up. And the painting really just wanted to be completely immersed in it. Yeah. Julie?
Do you paint most of the time by yourself? Or have a group with you, or what other?
We have a group in Memphis called Plenary Memphis, and I think we had about 40 people, and I think it's grown. But we have paint outs every now and then, and it's all paint with that group. I painted with Tennessee Bears, who's here, and she has a small group of friends too that paint. But mostly I paint by myself. I think I can focus better, on my own. Oh.
I just want to say,
Thanks, Chelsea.
years down in the bay where I went to go fishing, if you ever saw wild animals like bear or deer and one.
Yeah, I have. I was painting in near Gatlinburg early, like 15 years ago, a long time ago, when I think I was taking a workshop at the arts and crafts place there in Gatlinburg. And I was standing in a creek, like not in the water, but on the rocks, and the water was kind of rushing around me. And 2 black bears just walked past me along the shore as if I wasn't there. I've seen, a lot of times just getting to a site, I'll see snakes and, I see rattlesnakes. Where I was camping there at Hawes Creek, I got up one morning and of course I'm camping in a field, so there's no water or anything. And I went down to the creek to just like splash some water on my face. And I swam there a lot. And there was a water moccasin there to greet me sitting on the rock. So that's what comes to mind. I see one thing in Arkansas, I see a lot of these stick bugs. They look like a stick, like a green stick, but they have legs. And they're everywhere in the Ozark National Forest, and they're just beautiful. The way they move and have the head that can turn around like a gyroscope or something. I don't know what you would call it, but it can turn all these different angles. And the bugs and bugs are particularly fun to encounter. I did, when I left the architecture firm where I was working downtown, it was Ford Architects I worked with. And I was there 16 years and painted on the side. And I left there about 7 years ago, maybe 8 now, and decided to do my painting full time. And since then, I've gone in and helped them a little bit when they got in a crunch. And then I also have done a few freelance jobs on the side. I did a little residence near the crosstown in addition there. And so I kind of flip-flopped. I was doing 80% architecture and 20% painting, and now I'm doing more like 90% painting and 10% architecture. But really, like the past 2 years, I haven't had any jobs in architecture. Probably 4 to 5. Then there's just getting there. It depends on the size of the painting. So like a little 9x12, I might finish in 2 hours. But like a 12x16 might be 4 hours, and if it doesn't really feel finished, I'll come back multiple times. And then of course the big paintings are a lot more hours.
I'm just wondering.
Oh, well, on a good day, I might get 4 paintings done. When I get to a site that I'm particularly excited about, I stayed at this Airbnb near Franklin, Tennessee. That was somebody put a little apartment in a barn, and it had beautiful scenery all around it. And so I was just thinking about, when I get really inspired and I have all my gear set up, that's the important element is, having everything ready to go. I keep my backpack with all my paints and my easel ready to go at like near the door of my studio. But I'm making my panels myself, and that's trying to. Sure. The painting in the gallery of the sunset, that's the studio painting. All the other ones and there's a little still life too. But when it's too cold, if it's raining, I'll work inside and work from photographs. I'm not against working from photographs. I'd much prefer to work from life when I can. Hey. Oh. Probably purple. What's your favorite color? I like orange and I like green a lot too. Anybody else? I started in watercolor when I was an art major at Mississippi State. I had a fantastic watercolor teacher, Brent Thunderberg, and he really was my mentor in many ways. He taught drawing and watercolor. Incredible artist. He used to show here at Del Ross. And I'm losing my train of thought. I didn't start painting in oils till about 20 years ago, and I absolutely hated it. It's just like painting with butter. It's just awful. And, at first it just smears all over the place, and I absolutely hated it because I'm good at drawing. And with watercolor, you can make a really nice drawing and you color it in. With oil painting, make a nice drawing, it goes away right away. You lose your drawing. That's the change. But eventually, I grew to like it and found out ways to work with it. And yeah, now I'm only painting in oils. I can still do color, but most of the things.
You hated it so much. Why didn't you continue with it?
Oh, well, I felt like as an artist that sometimes oil painters, like in museums, always got the prestige. And I thought all the masters painted in oils, Rembrandt, all the Dutch masters, all the impressionists painted in oils. I felt like you could at least try it. And I think that kept me going, knowing that others work that way. And I think I wanted to be able to paint like a master.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for coming and speaking with us today. And please, as you exit, please go take in Matthew's exhibit right outside these doors. Thank you for attending. Next week's program will be in person and will feature Dr. Bryna Bobbitt from the University of Memphis and our own Karen Strawn talking about our program partnerships. If you're not currently a Dixon member, we invite you to renew or join. We'd be happy to add your name to the list of members who help make Dixon the special place it is. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and as you leave, drive safe.